Dear cynics and romantics, my name is Monice, and you are listening to the Romantic Cynic Podcast. I started this podcast because I wanted to make a choice to start healing when I had decided to get a divorce. And that's what life is all about. Life is about choices. We make good choices, better choices, best choices, and bad choices for ourselves. We might always be thinking that we're making the best choice at that particular moment, and typically time will reveal if we've made the right decision in life. And on this episode, I wanted to talk about choosing the right partner. I also wanted to preface this moment to say thank you for those that have been listening to this podcast journey of mine for the last 10 months. And I am actually at a point in my life that I am choosing to let go of this podcast. This is actually my final episode, but I wanted it to make it a very positive, uplifting episode. And the reason why is because even though the title says Romantic Cynic, the truth is I am no longer a cynic. I'm just a romantic person who's in a committed, loving relationship. So I hope you join me on today's episode where we might mix in some laughter, maybe some tears, romance, and of course, actually no more cynicism. Welcome to episode 40. Life is all about choices. Whether those choices are good for us, bad for us, better for us, or best for us. We all make choices, and hopefully we make choices that we don't regret one day. It is very easy to make choices that we regret later in life. And I'm here to say that of the experiences I've had with past relationships and the current relationship, my relationship now, I no longer have regrets in my past decisions when it came to those relationships because I'm in such a good and healthy place in life. And I'm here as a testimonial to you that if you've experienced being in really unhealthy relationships or volatile or even abusive relationships, I'm here to say that you will find the person that you're meant to be with. You will find yourself, and just be very kind to who you are. Don't take what someone from your past said about you and hold on to that for the rest of your life. Yes, it can shape you, and that's okay. But as long as you learn from it and grow from it and know that whoever hurt you in the past is no longer in your life for a reason, because you are so much better than that. You deserve to be loved, and you deserve to be respected for who you are. So I wanted to talk a little bit about choosing the right partner. Again, this is all about choices that we make in our everyday life. And it's okay if you make the wrong decision, because what I've learned through time is that those bad decisions really shaped me for who I am today and made me appreciate what I have now and what I look forward to in the future. So some of these things that you can look for when you're choosing a partner is don't make choices out of fear. There's a lot of us that will make choices out of fear because we don't want to be alone for the rest of our lives, or we are just so desperate to be in a relationship. It doesn't matter who it is. And the point is it does matter who it is, because that is the person that will either build you up or tear you down. And the thing is, and this is something that I have learned since this entire journey of mine, is learning to be on your own is a very gratifying moment in life, because you figure out who you are, you figure out how strong you are, and hopefully you learn to be kind to yourself, and hopefully you learn to love yourself, and you develop into the person that you want to be for the relationship that you are meant to. So never make choices, never pick a partner because you are fearful of being on your own. Embrace being on your own and live life to the fullest. And you know what? When that happens, you will find the person that you are meant to spend the rest of your life with. Be careful when jumping into a committed relationship, like right off the bat, unless you truly, truly know. I know sometimes people will jump from committed relationship to committed relationship because they love being in love. They love being in love, not because they love being in love with the person. They just love love itself. And we have to be very careful, because we can end up picking the wrong person for us and wasting time on that person when in fact we don't like them or we don't love them at all. If you experience that, as long as you learn from it and you don't continue making that same choice, and you learn to become a better person, again, you will find the person that you're meant to be with. But embrace who you are. Embrace being on your own. Embrace kind of the single life for a little bit. And I don't mean like dating right away. Just learn to be on your own. Learn to be comfortable with who you are by yourself. Sometimes and I can speak from my experience, where we might pick the same type of person over and over again, where we're like, why am I picking the wrong person? Why is every single guy or every single girl exactly the same? It's because, unfortunately, sometimes we pick the same person over again, not realizing that we are. So I encourage, try to give someone a chance that you normally wouldn't give a chance to, because you might discover what a healthy relationship looks like. You might discover how someone is supposed to treat you with kindness and respect and dignity in a relationship. So don't be afraid to date someone that you normally wouldn't date. If you have a checklist, I know some people will, are very particular in what they're looking for, what they're seeking out in a partner. And they have a checklist of like, okay, these are the top 5 priorities that I need the person to have. And usually it's materialistic things like money or good looks or a good job. Instead of looking at it from a materialistic point of view, look at it from a personality point of view. So someone who is a volunteer for a nonprofit organization, for example. Usually people who volunteer do it for selfless reasons, and knowing someone that gives their time so generously might be an indication that they will give generously in a relationship. So don't rely on your checklist. Just throw your checklist away and start looking at people for who they are and not what they have, and not because they didn't check off a box. When you have so many items on a checklist, you all of a sudden put everyone in a box, and those of people that don't fit in that box, your options become very small, or maybe someone like that unfortunately doesn't exist. So don't be afraid to get rid of your checklist and just learn to know people for who they are. You want to also don't allow lust to be your guide of when you find a partner. yes, having those romantic sexual feelings and those fiery feelings at the beginning of a relationship is very common. But once those fizzle out, that's when the real relationship begins. And I know it can be difficult to not allow the physicality to drive your choice. In some circumstances, you really have to pay attention to who the person is. Find someone that you can be yourself around. In my experience, my longest term relationship with my ex-husband, I couldn't be myself around him. It was something that I tried to do at the beginning of the relationship, but over time, because of just how judgmental he was as a person, I became less and less myself. And what ended up happening was I became unhappy with who I was in that relationship. I didn't like who I was. I ended up becoming just this terrible version of who I was in that relationship based solely on how he treated me. If you cannot be yourself around the person that you are seeking a relationship, if there's any doubt, if there's any hiding who you truly are, that is usually an indication to you to read, to comprehend, to understand that, you know what, this is not the person for me because I cannot be myself around him. People can fake who they are for so long, but you'll get to a point where it will become emotionally exhausting and sometimes physically exhausting because you become tired, you become complacent, it's not worth it. It's never worth it. Trust me, I've been there. I lived that for a very long time. So find someone that you can be yourself around, and typically those are the people that you seek friendships out of. When you are in a friendship type of relationship, you can be truly yourself and never have to hide who you are to someone. Another thing that you can consider when choosing the right partner for yourself is don't keep waiting for something or someone to change that obviously won't. We can get stuck in relationships for a very long time because we are hoping that the person will change. We can tell them everything that is quote unquote wrong with them. We can tell them what we need in a relationship. But if they're not willing to listen to you, if they're not willing to change for the relationship, it's not the relationship for you. And I kind of wanted to go a little bit deeper on that thought because from what I've learned, no person will change for anyone else except themselves. You can't force someone to change, and we shouldn't have to be in a relationship where we feel that the person has to change in order for us to be happy in the relationship. And the truth is, we have to seek our own happiness within ourselves. Being happy comes from within. It's not typically from external factors, because if you're seeking happiness outside of yourself, chances are you're going to be left disappointed. And really, when you are happy internally, everything else is beautiful. Everything else is exciting. Everything else the possibilities are endless because you found happiness within yourself and you learned to love who you are. So don't waste your time with someone or something to change. That obviously won't. People will always reveal themselves for who they actually are. We just have to learn to really pay attention. So I hope you found some insight to just choosing a partner. I wanted to take this opportunity to just say thank you for being a part of this podcast journey of mine. I started it late August because it was something that I've always wanted to do. I always wanted to start a podcast on my own, and I've been wanting to do it for a very, very long time. And I got the courage to start this podcast because I felt and needed to say something. I had to help. I like helping people, and I felt like me starting this podcast, I could potentially help other people in my situation or who had similar situations of what I've experienced. Or maybe you are coming out of a bad relationship, or maybe you're currently in a relationship where you don't know if you want to stay in the relationship or make the relationship work. Things I've learned this past year is being able to grow who you are and learning to love yourself and being unafraid to try new things, and like going back to school or learning something new. We all have the right to be happy with who we are. We should be happy with who we are. And if we are not happy with who we are, then work towards changing that. Work towards becoming the best version of yourself. I'm a big advocate of that. Always to continue growing, always find strength within yourself, and always become the best version of you. Because when you become the best version of you, that is who you're going to be offering to when you find the person that you're meant to spend the rest of your life with. I got to a point a few months ago because of how much I've grown in the last couple years and how healthy I have experienced being in a relationship. I got to a point with my podcast where I told myself my healing process has been completed. I no longer am cynical. I haven't been a cynical person in a very long time, but I'm a romantic person. I'm a sentimental person, and I appreciate life, and I find the pleasure and happiness in the little things. For me, I appreciate the small things in life. I appreciate the small things in my relationship because those are the things that are so much more meaningful, and those are the things that really will tell someone how the other person is with you. Everyone can make a grand gesture. Everyone can do it. It's easy. But when you show consistencies in your relationship with the small behaviors, that will tell you so much more of what your relationship truly looks like. So I'm going to end my podcast here. And I wanted to end, of course, with a quote. And this is, hopefully you will find some inspiration from this quote regarding love. One day, you will find someone that chooses you and continues to choose you every day. And that's when you will be thankful everything happened the way it did. Thank you for listening. And as always, yours truly, the Romantic Cynic.